Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Barry and I am passionate about AI code generation. So I started this channel to create videos of demonstrations of things that you can do and with AI code generation. I'm a senior Android engineer. I've been doing Android for about 12 years. I absolutely love Android and I love mobile. And I have 25 years of professional coding experience. And I find AI code gen can really help even a senior engineer because it can handle a lot of the grunt work, and easy stuff that just takes up our time. We can download all of that to AI, and we can be a lot more efficient in our coding. So today we're going to build an app from scratch using nothing but AI code gen, and the app I've chosen is a Tic-Tac-Toe app. I chose Tic-Tac-Toe because at the company I used to work, we used that as a interview question. You would have people write a Tic-Tac-Toe app in real time, and to be honest, most people couldn't do it within the about 45 minutes that we gave them. The average senior even struggled a little bit, and the juniors never got through it. But I think with AI code gen, we can get through it in much more quickly. So let's give it a shot. Let's try that right now. All right, so again, we're going to create Tic-Tac-Toe for Android. So we're going to start out by creating a new project. And I want to point out I've never done this before, so you're going to learn this along with me. It helps if you know Android already. It definitely helps if you know coding when you're watching this video. But even if you don't know Android, you'll still be able to get the idea and grasp and learn a lot about AI code gen, even if you work in other languages. So what are we going to do? We're going to create an Android app, and I'm going to create one just with an empty activity, with an empty views activity. We're not going to use compose. We'll get to compose a little bit later. If you don't know what I'm talking about, compose is the new, latest, greatest way to build user interfaces in Android, but I'm going to use the old-fashioned way, which uses XML layouts, and we'll get to compose a little bit later. So an empty views activity is what I want. I'm going to call this Tic-Tac-Toe, and it's going to be in Kotlin because I love Kotlin, and if you're doing Android, you should be doing everything in Kotlin these days. And here we go. So here is our blank project. Now, what I like to use when I'm every Android engineer uses Android Studio, or it's at least the most popular IDE for Android development. It's written by JetBrains, and they write the best IDEs, but it's owned by Google and is created for Google. It's a free product written by JetBrains and provided by Google. And if you'll see. It's still building, so I'll let it keep building. But what I'm going to show you while it's building is GitHub Codepilot chat. There it is. This is GitHub Copilot. GitHub Copilot is GitHub's code gen service. It uses, I believe, ChatGPT in the background because GitHub is owned by Microsoft and OpenAI is owned by Microsoft, so it's one big happy family. If you're familiar with with large language models, you'd probably use ChatGPT. I love ChatGPT 4. It's amazing. I don't know which version of ChatGPT GitHub Copilot is built on, but maybe we can get to that. We'll figure that out. So what I'm going to do is, and now the GitHub Copilot recently introduced in beta something called GitHub Copilot Chat, which is a chat interface, which is probably the way you're used to interacting with a large language model, or used to interacting with AI, especially if you use ChatGPT or Bard or any of that good stuff. So it's a chat interface, which I really like because the original GitHub, or the default GitHub Copilot, wasn't a chat interface. Rather, you would interact with it in the in the text editor, and it would offer code suggestions. But here I can actually chat with Copilot and ask it questions. So the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ask it to write a layout. But before I do that, let me show you This is default Android activity, and activity is just a full screen view in Android, and we use XML layout files. So this is an XML layout. It looks like it has a bunch of errors in it, but that's only because the project is brand new. It's still syncing. Those errors will go away in a second. And the default project created in Android Studio, of course, it just says hello world, like any good default project should say. We're going to take the hello world app and make it a lot more we're going to take the hello world app and we're going to turn it into a tic-tac-toe app. So the first thing I'm going to do is ask it to write a layout, and I'll just select the file activity main.xml because layouts are XML files. I'll ask it to write a tic-tac-toe board. So create a layout using grid layout that shows a 3x3 grid with a text view in each cell. Let's just hit start with that. It thinks for a few seconds, and then it spits out a layout. So what's it doing now? You'll notice when to ask to interact with Copilot, you have to know at least a little bit about how Android works, because I was asking it very specific questions. I told it I want my layout to use a grid layout. I told it I wanted to use text view, which is a perfect example of how CodeGen doesn't replace coding knowledge. It is an extension of your coding knowledge. You have to be able to speak to it intelligently as a coder in order to get useful results. Okay, so here's the result, and it's not what I was expecting. It's a grid layout, but it only has one text view. Let's see what we did. Now I'm going to tell them I made a mistake. No, there should be 9 text views in total. 1 in each cell of a 3x3 grid. Please try again. Helps to be polite to your AI CodeGen, because you never know. One day after the revolution, I want to be on the side of Skynet. Let's put it that way. Okay, this looks better. It's producing something that looks like it will probably have 9 cells. Oh, they put a number in each one. I didn't ask it to do that, but it did. That's okay. I can tell it to change it in a second. But I'm not going to do that yet. What I'm going to do is just copy paste it. Let's put it in here, see what happens. Okay, interesting. Well, this is pretty cool. No errors. That's always nice to see on your very first, when you copy paste some code from CodeGen. So let's build it and see what happens. Compile. I have a Pixel 6 emulator. I'll move it over here where we can see it a little bit better. Let's watch it build and run, and fingers crossed we should see the 3x3 grid of tic-tac-toe board, and then we'll refine it from there. Well, we look at that. It looks great. I like this a lot. It's perfect layout. It even filled the screen. I didn't ask it to, and it filled the screen. But it's not obviously not a tic-tac-toe board. There aren't supposed to be numbers in the middle. So let's remove the numbers. By saying remove the Android text attributes. Okay. Okay, and here it comes. It should be the same as the last one. Now, I could copy paste this, but I'm going to do something else, because you'll notice, if you know anything about Android, each one of these text views should have its own identifier so that we can access it later. So actually, you know what? We're not going to do that. Let's just run it. Let's just copy paste this and see what happens. I want to point out, actually, I should explain that the Tic-Tac-Toe the Tic-Tac-Toe that we're building is going to be for a two-player game. So we're not going to write any like artificial intelligence or anything to make it the app smart enough to play against a human. Rather, the one person will hold the phone, tap, and lay an X, hand it to their opponent. A person will tap in another square, and we'll see an O, and they'll hand it back to the first person, and they'll go back and forth. The only game logic we need is the game needs to be smart enough to know when one of the players has won and announce the winner. Okay, it doesn't play the game, but it's kind of the referee of the game. So yeah, let's build it. And we should have blank cells from now. And while that's building, I'm going to come over here. I'm going to add main activity. Write a method that add an ID called board to the grid layout. By the way, I could add this myself in about half a second, but I really want to do this using entirely AI. So I'm going to avoid typing anything in the text editor. Make it take a little bit longer, but we'll see the real power of AI. I'm also going to just change the config here a little bit so that window doesn't pop up every time I run it. Okay, well, there it is. I'm just going to copy the grid layout part. It has one extra line in it. You'll see this is the extra line it added. It named it board. Okay, now let's come back here. This is the main activity. This is the Kotlin code that we'll use to actually add logic to this layout. What I'm going to tell it to do is I want to get the layout ID. I want to get an ID. Sorry, I want to get a reference to each one of these text views, all 9 text views, and I want to do it in a 3x3 two-dimensional array of text views. So we'll have a two-dimensional array, 3x3, in the exact same format as the actual board. And then we can access the top left one will be 0, 0, and the bottom right one will be 2, 2 in that two-dimensional array. But I didn't want to assign an ID to each text view. I'd rather parse the grid layout and pull out the text views from it. That way I don't have to apply and assign an ID to each text view individually in the XML file. The advantage to this is that we can resize the grid layout if we want to have a 4x4 tic-tac-toe, and it should just work like that because it's parsing the actual layout to get the text views. So write a method that takes a reference to the board grid layout and parse it such that it returns a 3x3 array of text views where each element in the array corresponds to the text view in that location in the grid layout. Hopefully it'll get that. Let's see. My response got filtered. I don't know what that means, but let's try again. Vote down if you think it shouldn't happen. That definitely shouldn't happen. We're also going to learn all the great idiosyncrasies of AI code gen along the way. Write a Kotlin method. Okay, didn't get filtered. All right, let's see how smart this thing. Parse grid layout. This, at first glance, looks pretty good, and that also really well illustrates the point of AI code gen cannot replace a good coder, because I need to be able to recognize whether this is good code or not. But let's take a quick look at it, and we'll decide for ourselves. Well, for starters, okay, let's get rid of some errors. So I'm going to import class, import. All right, no more errors. So we get the rows, that looks good. We get the columns. We get an array with, oh my goodness, this is really good, an array of nulls. And it'll even work with if the board is not, if the board doesn't have the same number of rows and columns, which to be honest is a bit questionable, but let's leave it. Couldn't hurt for now. So it's going to iterate through all the children, and if it's a text view, oh look, it gets the row is I divided by column count. The column is, that looks good. Let's take a look, and it returns. Okay, I'm not going to type anything. I was about to type up the call. Write a call. Write code that gets the board grid layout from the main content view. I'm going to write code, write a method, no, write code for main activity. I want to give it some context so it knows where it's going to go. That might help. For the main content view, and passes it to parse grid layout and stores the return value in a property called board layout, I guess. Board cells, I like that better. Let's see if it can do it. I'm assuming it's going to create some code that I'm going to copy paste into onCreate. Yep, use find view by ID in onCreate. It's read my mind. Good, late init board cells. I can explain that in a second. All right, you don't need to give me all that. So look at this. Just like I said, just as I was hoping, I got the code to copy paste it into onCreate. Oops, and I'm pasting it in here, and boom. Okay, let's follow some. Let's correct some errors. It's telling me that it could be private, so I'm just going to let it make it private. I could have asked the code gen to make it private in the first place. I'm not counting this because it's just, I'm not really typing code. I just hit Alt-Enter and follow the default context to correct an error. Also, if I have to import something, the AI can't do that for me, which brings me to an important point. You'll notice that I'm doing a lot of copy pasting from the chat to the IDE, and if you're thinking how that's very inefficient, I agree with you completely. But this is the state of AI code gen right now. I'm hoping the next generation of AI code gen will actually modify the file for me the way I want. But until we get there, I'm going to have to do a lot of copy pasting. It should contain the board cells, and I'm just going to say, how are we going to debug this? Let me think. I can set a breakpoint. Yeah, let's put a breakpoint right here and make sure I'm really getting an array of 3 by 3 cells. Hopefully the build will be faster this time. That first build was pretty slow, but the first build is always the slowest. And I want to point out that even though I'm a senior Android engineer, I've used a lot of Android. I don't know the grid layout off the top of my head. I haven't used it that many times. I've heard of it. I know it exists. I know what it does, but I don't know off the top of my head how to use it. I would have to resort to the documentation. I would have to learn about row count. I'd learn about column count. I didn't know those were there. And I didn't have to with AI CodeGen. I look at it, it makes perfect sense. Now I know about row count and column count, but I didn't need to. Okay, look at this. These are all text views. I'm assuming, you know what I'm going to do? Here's a cool way to test this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tell it to put the numbers back in, and that way I can look at the actual text value. Add a set the value of each text view. Set the text value. I like to be extra explicit when I'm talking to AI. It can save a lot of it can save a lot of trouble. Don't be ambiguous. Be super clear, more clear than you would be with a human. I'm going to delete main activity for now because it's the only file I'm really worried about. I'm really concerned. In each text file, set the text value of each text view in the grid layout to its cell, row, and column. And what I'm going to do, once I have the text value set to that, I'm going to run it again in the debugger, double check that each text view, check the value of each text view and make sure it matches. That doesn't look right. No, I meant add a text, an Android text attribute to each text view in activity main. And as I was talking about being more explicit, the GitHub Copilot gave me the perfect example of how not to do it. I asked it to add to set the cell value, and it gave me the answer in Kotlin instead of setting it in the layout. Admittedly, that's pretty smart, and a lot of times I would want to do it that way, but it's not how I want to do it this time. So I'm going to correct it. And then I'm going to undo it right after because we don't want those numbers, remember? Oh dear. Give me the answer. See, it only after you ask it the similar question a few times, it starts giving you short form answers, but I'm going to make it give me the longer answer. Give me the answer with all 9 text views. Because otherwise I'd have to set these myself, and I really don't feel like that. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. It takes time for it to generate the code, but honestly, it's still doing it faster than I could go in and add an Android :text 00, Android :text 01. Doing that 9 times, I won't be able to do that as quickly as the AI. And here we go. I'm not going to even copy the whole. Yeah, I'll just copy the whole thing. Why not? It makes life easier for all of us. Now let's take a look. Here we go. I'm going to set a breakpoint right there. Let's take a look. Okay. Let's take a look. 00. The text is 00. It did it right. Let's pick another one. We don't have to do all 10 of them, but all 9 of them, but 11. Text should be 11. Let's do 12. The text is 12. I love it. I love it. And I didn't. So I know it got the code right. Let's check one more. 02. Or is that, yeah, 0 or 2 0. 2 0. It's the third row, 0th column. Excellent, excellent. All right, so what do we have so far? We have a layout. It looks good. It's a 9 by 9, a 3 by 3, 9 cells. We have code. We have the layout and we have code. We have each one of these text cells in the code. And okay, so what's next? Next, we want to be able to place X's and O's on the screen. Oh, and I'm going to just hit undo. So now I got rid of I got rid of these cell and row numbers in the layout because we don't want obviously that in the final product. Okay, so what am I going to do? Let me think. I'm doing this on the fly, so I got to think. I want to create, as a good coder, I want to create an enum or some kind of class that represents X and O, each player. So let's just say create an enum called player with values X and O. That shouldn't take long. But again, still, I could probably type it out faster, admittedly, but then you wouldn't get to see how AI CodeGen works. Okay, let's copy paste that into our class. Fine, I'll make it private. I should have told it to make it private. I personally like when they're on the same line, when it's that short, so I put them on the same line. Okay, add, create a property for, and I want to get the right class in here, because if you give it with GitHub Copilot, if you specify which file, you're giving it some context for the answer, so it'll take this particular activity file into account when it's generating an answer. So create a property for main activity. I'm going to be smart this time. A private property for main activity that represents the current player. I'm going to say a private var property to be extra explicit. Represents the current player. Call it. I'll take a var property. I'm not even going to tell it what to name it. Let's see what it comes up with. But I'm going to say the default value is X, because X always goes first in Tic-Tac-Toe. Everybody knows that. This should just generate one line of code. I could have probably typed it faster again, but let it do all the hard work. Here's how you can do it. Okay. Obviously, this is still a work in progress. Let's try again. Got a period at the end. Maybe that helps. Nope, it's still thinking. Okay, I'm going to hit stop. Something went wrong there. Please work. Oh, okay, obviously. That's what I was expecting. That's what I would have written. But I let GitHub do it for me. Okay, current player. So we have a current player. Okay. Now we need a way to know when the user tapped it. And we call that in Android, we call that a click callback. So I'm going to tell it to add a click callback. Let me think how this is going to work. I wanted to add a click callback to each one of the text views so we know when they've been tapped. Click callbacks automatically return the view, the text view that was clicked. And we want to know from that which one, what cell it was that the user clicked. So what I could do is I can create. I would want to do it. The most obvious way is to create 9 click callbacks, and one for each one. And we put the click callbacks maybe in an array. I don't know. And then no, that wouldn't work. How about if we use one click callback for each one, click listener, excuse me, we call them a click listener, And when the user taps it, we have the view, and then we'll create a method to parse the board cells variable and find that text view. It's not the most efficient code, but it should work, especially on a 3x3 board. No, I have a much better idea. We don't need to know the location of the X and Y, of where they clicked. We just need to place an X if there's nothing already there, or place an O if there's nothing already there. That's all we need to do. So let's do that. One click callback, and one click callback for every text view that places an X or an O. But let's start with the click callback. I keep calling it click callback, but the formal name is an on-click listener. So let's use the right terms so we don't confuse the CodeGen. Write an on-click listener and apply it to every text view in board cells. Hopefully that's explicit enough. If not, we'll try again. Define the click listener like it says. I usually skip over the text descriptions and go straight for the code. Oh, here we go again. It's boofing on the CodeGen. But I was saying I usually just go straight for the CodeGen, but the text explanations are also usually really interesting, especially if you don't fully understand the code, and then you would definitely refer to that. Let's try that one again. Here we go. Okay, this is amazing. Amazing. I'm going to make the click listener a property. I'm not going to make that mistake. Make click listener private. Click listener is a terrible name. Rename click listener to cell click listener and make it private. There it is. So I'm going to make this a private property of the class, and let's import that file. And I'm going to add the click listener at the end of onCreate. All right. Now, one last thing I want to do. Where did I find the click listener? I'm going to. Whoa. I didn't tell it to assign the current player. I did not tell it to do this. This is interesting. It took some initiative here. It's updating the current player from X to O and O to X, which is interesting, but I don't think I want to do that on my click listener. Actually, you know what I do want to do? I'm going to create a new method called onClick. And the click listener will call onClick because it's just neater to put all your code in its own method instead of jamming it all into a click listener. Move the code in cell click listener into a new private method on click. That's better. I didn't tell it to do anything. I thought it was going to create an empty on click listener. Here we go. And but it took some initiative, and I actually appreciate it because it got it right. These are exactly the things I want to do, and this is what I like so much about AI code gen is most of the time it's pretty smart. Yes, the time it's pretty smart. There. Okay, so this updates the this sets an X or an O. Okay, look. Oh wow. So what did we do? We created the click listener, the on click listener. It calls this method. The method gets the text view because it comes in as casts it to a text view, sets the text to X or O, and then updates the current player. This is amazing. I didn't ask it to do that, and it did it anyways. And frankly, I'm blown away. Oh, and here out of this code, this is just applying the click listener to every text view. I want to run this. I'm dying to see what'll happen. We should get X's and O's. You know what? While we're waiting, I'm going to tell it to make the text a lot bigger because that's so small. Make the text size in every text view, let's say 28 SP. See what it does. I hope it gives me all 9 of them because I'm not making any changes by hand. Oh, no. No. Do it in activity main.xml. Give me the code for all 9 text views. Boom. Oh, I have a typo in my text, and yet, no. I want the code for all 9 text views. It's trying to save space, I think, somehow. Okay, while it's doing that, I'm going to click. I should get an X. Dang, an O, an X, an O, an X. The problem is, and I knew this was going to happen, it's not smart enough to know if you're not going to, if the cell's already, what do you call it, occupied. Okay, while it's generating that, I will tell it update on click so it doesn't do anything if the text view text isn't blank. And while that's happening, let's copy this text. Let's copy these views and see what they look like. Okay, I'm going to copy this code to all the, actually, I'll just copy the whole thing. Why not? And I've changed the text size to 28. And while what I'm going to do next is I'm going to fix this bug that lets you change the X and O. I'm going to do both of those at the same time. I tried once, it didn't work, so let's try again. Update on click so it doesn't do anything if the text view is blank. My response got filtered again. I don't know why. Thank you, GitHub Copilot. Okay, we might have a problem here. Update on click. Let me change the text. If you do the same one over and over again, it seems to always get filtered. Here it is. I hope. Well, that was easy. It just added this. If text view text is not blank, return. Quite simple. Let's just do a big copy paste. Boom. Let's run this. Wait, what was that? Copy again. Select. Paste. Okay, there it is. Let's run it again. Much better. And I can't reuse a square. but also doesn't know if anybody won. So that's the last thing we're going to do. I think this is pretty amazing. We already have completed the view. The view code is done. We have a fully functioning tic-tac-toe board. I just realized I didn't add the lines, but we can do that later. So other than that, it's a finished view. I'm going to leave it at 28. 28 is pretty good. It probably should be bigger, but that's fine for now. So let's add some. Let's add a new method. So write a private. Let me change the. Give it some context. Write a private method called check rows for winner that checks each row in what's it called, board cells, and returns true if any row is all X's or all O's. Return false otherwise. Let's use proper English. Otherwise, return false. Okay, oh good, it checks. Okay, I noticed a bug already though. This will return true, I believe. Oh, no, I was going to say it will return true if all three are blank, but it's not. They put it in, they covered it. That's smart. Let's do it. I'm tempted to ask it to create all the winner checking logic in one shot with just one prompt and see if it could spit everything out, but I'm not going to push my luck right now. So I'm going to break it into steps. I'm going to create a method for rows, another one for columns, and a third one for diagonal, and then I'll create a method that calls all three of those. And then maybe we can optimize from there. But for now, I'm just going to put in the rows. Okay, now let's do the same thing for column. Do the same thing for columns in board cells. I might be pushing my luck here. When I say do the same thing, I'm not being super explicit. But I'm going to cross my fingers and think and give it the benefit of the doubt. Okay. Okay, we're at column count. So board column, first cell. Yeah, it gets the first cell, which is 0 column, and then checks all the columns. That's amazing. And paste in, no errors. I rarely get errors from AI CodeGen, at least from GitHub Copilot chat on Android. It's amazing. Very good. I'm going to give it some credit. Now, write a third method that checks both diagonals. You may assume the board has the same number of rows and columns. And honestly, I should put a check in there because if we defined activity main with the different number of rows and columns, a rectangular board, that doesn't make a ton of sense for tic-tac-toe. And I don't want to have the diagonal code check a million different things. So I'm going to assume for now it's a square board, but we can put in a check later. So as a square board, the only diagonals are top left to bottom right, top right to bottom left. Let's see. Very good. Now write a third method that checks both diagonals. You may assume the board has the same number of rows and columns. Enter. Okay. Diagonal and anti-diagonal. I've never heard that term before, but I like it. I don't know if it's a real word or if AI just coins a new English word, but anti-diagonal is my new favorite word. Okay, well, we've got a couple of warnings. Let's see what it says. That one's, okay, that's a fine warning. What's this warning? Redundant if statement. How is it redundant? Oh, it wants me to... I like it better this way. It wants me to just... Yeah, I see what it's doing. It wants to replace this return true and return false with just a... Yeah, I'm gonna golly, leave me alone, Windows. I'm gonna take its advice. That's pretty smart. Off the top of my head, this looks pretty good. We're checking board cells. We're iterating. We're checking if it's not blank, so it has to be an X or an O. We're going through the size of the board, which this is the number of cells in the board. I think this isn't going to work. Although I'm tempted to just run it and find out. No, the size, it shouldn't be the size. Oh, right, board cell size, never mind. Board cell size is the number of rows. So yeah, it's not the number of cells, it's the number of rows. This is really good. But we have 3 uncalled methods. I'm going to ask it to create a new method, create a new private method called check winner that calls all 3 of the new check methods and returns true if any of them returns true. Otherwise, return false. When I say all 3 of the new check methods, I'm not being super explicit. I hope it knows what I'm saying. Let's find out. Oh yeah, I'm going to use a logical or operand. Oh, good golly. Chat, GitHub Copilot, why are you freezing again? I'm too impatient to wait for this. I'm going to do it again. Hopefully, you won't mind. This is one of the... Is that the answer? It's not doing the code gen. Let's be patient this time. Interesting. One more time. What's up, GitHub Copilot? Once. Okay. 3 times the charm. Four times the charm. Are you okay? I forgot to cross my fingers. That's probably what happened. 5th time's the charm. I might have to reword this. Nope, it's not cooperating today. Let's try removing that context. Well, GitHub Copilot's having a bad day. Let us. Okay, hopefully that cleared the lint out. Oh, there we go. Boom. Hooray! That was frustrating. I hope I never have to do that again. Here's the method. I'll put it here. Okay. All right, we're almost done. Oh, no. We can't return a Boolean. Oh, no. Not a Boolean because then we won't know who won. Oh, wait. Yes, we will. The winner would be the last. That's true. We don't need to know who the winner is. The winner would be the current player, always. So we don't need these methods to return the winner, although that would have been nice. So here we go. In onClick, call check winner. And if it returns true, show a dialog that announces the winner, which is current player. That announces current player is the winner. Put the dialog code in a new method called show winner. I think we might be done. Okay, if check winner, let's copy the method first. Check winner, I'll put it here. I'll put it at the bottom, below the check logic. And this check here, we might have a functioning tic-tac-toe game after this. And add these missing imports. App compat? Sure, let's go with that one. See what happens. You know, I'm going to be optimistic and assume it's right. Change the positive button to change the positive button text to play again when the user clicks it. Call a new method, a new private method called play again. Play again resets every text view to blank and resets current player to X. Cross your fingers. Okay, let's copy paste this. And why not? Let's restart the build. And we are just under the 1 hour mark, and I think we're done. Let's see. Here we go. Let's play X, O, X, O, X. Boom! O is the winner. So close. Play again. X, O, X, O, X. O is the winner. Okay, I see what's going on. We're almost there. Up here in on click, yeah, we're changing the current player. I copy pasted this to the wrong place. We're changing the current player before we check the winner. And I mean, we could hit return, but we could return from here, but I'm not going to. I could add a return here. It's kind of unnecessary because the board you can't click anything after the dialog appears anyways. Okay, let's play some tic-tac-toe. X, O, X, O, X. X is the winner. Let's try X, O, X, O. I want O to be the winner this time. O is the winner, but now let's try an across. X, O, X, O, X. X is the winner. X, O, X, O, X, O. And then across worked. Let's try another one. X, O, X, O, X, O. I wanted to try the bottom row with an O. And let's do the diagonals. X, O, X, O. X is the winner. X, O, X, O. X is the winner. We're done. So that's it. We've created a two-player tic-tac-toe game using nothing but AI code gen. You'll notice, again, that the AI code gen is not replacement for a good coder. You still need to know what you're doing. You need to understand the code that's coming out. I suppose you could write the simplest of programs, but even without knowing code that well, but even simple programs would require simple knowledge of coding. Otherwise, if you start producing code you don't understand, you're going to start introducing bugs that you can't fix. And even you could use the AI code gen to fix bugs, but that's again not perfect. And as your app gets bigger and bigger, you're going to get deeper and deeper into the weeds and not be able to and just not be able to produce a full-fledged app if you don't understand the code behind it. So again, the AI code gen is not a replacement for a good coder. It's an assistant for a good coder, and that's why I love it so much. It makes my job easier. For instance, a lot of the stuff that I would use it to produce a lot of the code that you saw here. It could probably, by using a hybrid approach of me writing some code and AI writing other code, I probably could have done it faster because there are certain things that I was typing and were waiting for it to generate code. I probably could have typed it myself in just a few seconds. Things like the check winner method, which was quite simple, and doing a few things in the layout. I probably could have got it down to 45 minutes easily. Also, we had some problems with the AI, which is why it took over an hour. I think a good coder with AI could write a tic-tac-toe game in 45 minutes or less. I'm not sure most coders can do that on their own, even senior coders. Definitely we could write a tic-tac-toe game, but 45 minutes is not a lot of time to write an entire app with 124 lines of code. So it'll make your job easier. It'll let you increase your velocity, but it's again not a replacement. But you see the results it produced, the way, like again on Click Listener, when it started to add the player code and fill in the text. I didn't even ask it to do that. That was actually quite amazing to me even. And it was exactly what I needed, so I left the code in there. So you see why I love AI code gen so much. You can hopefully see why it's a great assistant for any senior coder or junior coder. And I hope you'll try it out, and I hope you'll keep watching my videos. So until next time, like and subscribe.